All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Wednesday, September 25th. We got a full MLB slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're going to go through each and every one of these games. I'm going to give you my lean on the side. I'll give you my lean on this total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, all of my final plays, if you do want to fade me, all of my final plays are going to be in the pinned comment. In terms of yesterday, we have one of our worst nights in recent history here. Luckily, we're still rocking with sort of that half-unit mindset until we get to the playoffs. Unless you really love something, we'll put a full unit on. But the Tigers' first 5 run line, and I say it was one of our worst nights because that Tigers' first 5, it came down to the bottom of the 5th with 2 outs for them. I think it was Perez to knock in a couple runs for them to win that first 5. So that was even lucky. Royals' first 5, that doesn't cash. And then the Rangers' A's first 5 under, like I mentioned in yesterday's video, was one of my favorite plays. That does not come through either. A lot of runs scored in that game. So yeah, we're man enough to admit it. We're here to step into the ring of admitting that we did not have the best day yesterday. Even some of the leans that I had that I almost rolled with did not come through either. So hopefully we can do a little bit better today. But like I keep telling you guys, there's one thing you want to take from this. Be conservative to close out the year. Some games matter, some games don't. Some teams care, some teams don't. Wonky things are happening, guys. So do even more and more research. I always tell you guys, like, I'm just giving you my picks. I wouldn't blindly tail me. I wouldn't blindly fade me either. But you know what? You can, but just make sure you guys are looking at all things and kind of digging up everything you can before placing anything, because things are a little wonky in the MLB as of right now. Before we do get into this, I couldn't wait to share this with you guys. Look at how many free squares Sleeper is offering right now for this week. You have Zach Gallen today, later on in the week, Verlander, Daniel Jones for Thursday Night Football, Moss in college football, Josh Allen for NFL. Like, they have so many free squares over there right now. I have a Sleeper slip for today in the MLB, kind of taking a long shot that we're going to share at the end of the video as well, so stay tuned for that. But go check out Sleeper, guys. They're going to match your first deposit up to $100. So if you put in $100, you'll get $100. Put in 50, you'll get 50, so on and so forth, right? And you get all of these free squares. And guess what? It is Wednesday. On Wednesdays, they drop a bunch of discounts and or deals over on their app. So go check out Sleeper, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. How could you not? You put in your bankroll in there and it's going to grow. You're going to have a bunch of free squares. Absolute no-brainer. Go check out Sleeper, guys. That link is in the pinned comment. But let's jump into today's slate here, guys. Hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button as well. See if we can do a little bit better than yesterday. We've been on a run. I think that takes us to like a 13-6 run, right? Which is still pretty damn good in the last 19 plays. But we want to do a little bit better than we did yesterday. That was even lucky to get 1 win. So let's see if we can do that today. Hit that like button. Hit that subscribe button. And let me know what you guys are rolling with in the comments. Those comments, a lot of people are a lot smarter and sharper than me, right? You guys are helping a lot of people out by giving your best bets in the comments. But let's jump into this one. My favorite series as the season concludes right now is the Houston and Seattle series. Now, Houston gets the win yesterday 4-3. I don't want to say it kind of dampers the thoughts and hopes that Seattle could make a push for the wild card, but now Seattle is 2.5 games back. Houston now, I think, clinched their playoff berth, right? Or no, clinched the division with that win yesterday. So this loses its juice a little bit. Today on the mound, we have Yusei Kikuchi going up against George Kirby. I lean towards, I think, Seattle yesterday, right? That's because I want Seattle to win this series, but if you're going to give me Houston at home for plus money, it's a tough spot. Now, the one reason I'm not all over that for plus money is the fact that they clinched the division. They're probably celebrating. They're happy, you know, whatever that entails. I think Seattle probably bounces back here, especially with their ace George Kirby on the mound. So I almost reluctantly lean Seattle today, but that price has me like chomping at the bit for Houston, but I just couldn't get there fully. I think that Kirby goes out there and deals. Seattle's offense against lefties has been pretty good in the last 30 days, and their offense has stepped up kind of when they needed it most, and both pitchers have seen plenty of the opposing players on the team. We'll start with George Kirby, and this is kind of what put it over the top for me. 121 plate appearances against, a .8, not even a full percent walk rate, a 214 average against, a WOBA against of 212, and a slugging sub 300. I think George Kirby has a good game today. But like I mentioned, Kikuchi has some good numbers against this current Mariners team as well. 98 plate appearances against, a 27% K rate, 222 average against, and an expected WOBA of 293 with a slugging of 381. So I don't think there's going to be a lot of runs in today's game. No kidding. Look at the total. total at 7. So I'd lean towards the under first 5, maybe the Nerfy, but also Seattle here on the money line. I wish we were getting plus money for them, but they're probably the team now that has to scrape and fight to even have a hope of making the playoffs. Whereas you're looking at Houston, they're kind of chilling, right? They clinched the division. So give me Seattle as well as some of those unders and a potential play on the Nerfy. Philadelphia taking on Chicago. This is one where I guess we at least saw it right yesterday. Few and far between with those. The Cubs take that win. I think it was like, what, 6-2? 6-2, something like that. Philadelphia clinched the night before. Kind of same thing I'm thinking with Houston. Like, do they take this seriously? Are they a little, groggy from the night before? Christopher Sanchez on the mound for the Phillies today. Was it 6? I think it was like 8-4, something like that. They scored a bunch of runs late in that game too. But Chris Sanchez has been dominant at home this year. He's pitching for the Phillies, going up against Javier Carne-Asada for the Cubs. So Chris Sanchez at home, 0.96 whip. This is the season. 2.43 FIP. Okay, that's really good, but what's the expected FIP? 2.7, so it doesn't even jump that much. Average against of 221. Strikeout rate jumps 4 points from his season average when at home to 24%. Walk rate cuts in half. So I do think that this is a good spot for him. One thing I'll say is that his pitch mix throws a lot of sinkers, a lot of sliders, and a lot of changeups. Those are pitches that this Cubs team hits really, really well. But for, 192, I don't necessarily think that this is the spot for the Phillies. That said, I also think that this is probably a tough spot to take the Cubs. Carne-Asada hasn't looked all that tremendous. Does have some good numbers against this Phillies team, but overall they just got their big win. I think things kind of return back to form today. So I'm going to lean towards the Phillies. That minus 192 is actually kind of more of an outdated price. You can get them at minus 180 if you really wanted to stretch it in terms of the juice you're paying. I don't think that we'd play it there. I don't mind the over in this spot though. I think that if the Cubs offense, like I said, matches Chris Sanchez's pitch mix, then maybe it negates some of his, how good he's been at home in a sense, and the Cubs offense has been batting pretty well, right? And then the Phillies, they don't just score 4 runs and then dip out. I think that they can go out there and score a decent amount of runs off of Javier Assad here. In terms of how he's pitched against them in the past, he hasn't seen them in 2 years. And then same thing for for Chris Sanchez. I think he actually blew up. I want to say had one of his worst starts of the season against the Cubs. That was way back in June or July or something. So we could see some runs in this one today, but again, keep an eye on those lineups. Keep an eye on everything just because of how wonky the MLB season can be late in the year. And I know I said that 10 times. You got comments being like, we get it. It's the end of the year. Excuse me for just, at least saying that as much as possible. I think it's one of the most important things when betting on the MLB right now is to recognize where you are in the season. So yeah, I'll probably say it 14 more times during this video. So sorry, not really sorry. All right, Joey Cantillo on the mound for Cleveland, going up against Jakob Yunis for the Reds. Cleveland wins 6-1 yesterday. Based on what the Reds are doing with their organization and even how they kind of just showed up yesterday, and I guess in the last 2 games, they've probably thrown in the towel. And the Guardians may be one of those teams that are trying to kind of get their feet under them heading into the playoffs. You know what I mean? Obviously, they clinched that Central Division with a 91 in 67 record so far into the season. But overall, I still do think that they could be kind of trying to go out there and get things right. So I liked the Reds yesterday, and I was dead wrong. I'm flipping over, and now that I flip, it's going to be the Reds today, right? But I just can't really get behind the Reds. I do think that plus 130 is a good price tag. I'd more or less have them at plus 115. So if that means anything to you, there you go. But for minus 140 or in the minus 140s, I don't think that there's any reason to look past Cleveland here. I think Cantillo should have a decent game here against this Reds team that just cannot hit lefties. Joey Cantillo being a lefty. In fact, if we jump into the dashboard, you could see that. If you guys do want access to this, it's going to be crucial during the playoffs, guys. $2.99 a month, not just for this, but to become a channel member. We have channel member only videos, model making series for members, a ton of cool things on the channel just for members, this being one of them. But you could see here, Cincinnati against lefties, absolutely god-awful. And then Cantillo at home, pretty damn good. And they have the better bullpen. You could see that as well. So enough reasons, enough, sort of points and feathers in Cleveland's hat here to be able to lean towards them. Now, when it comes to the total, I'm going to lean towards the over still. Just based on what we saw yesterday, Cleveland's offense looks like it's kind of kicking, and they've scored 5+ runs in 3 of their last 4 games. In terms of Cincinnati, like I said, they've been struggling, but just 2 games ago, they scored 7. 3 games ago, they scored 8. You know what I mean? So maybe there's something there. And it's not like Cantillo is an absolute ace, so I'll lean over, but this is definitely a spot in which I'd consider Cleveland instead, in place of the over if I had to pick one. There are some interesting names in the Cleveland lineup, but similar guys that have been playing. I think that they're getting some young guys some run, but most of the legit guys are in there as well, so no fear there really. All right, Detroit is taking on Tampa Bay. They get the win yesterday. It was a close one. We were on the right side of it, like I said, kind of luckily. Today we have Keider Montero on the mound going up against Zach Littell. Littell has been an ace, like for all intents and purposes. Last 3 starts, he has not let up a single run. He's gone 5 innings pitched, 6 innings pitched, 7 innings pitched. Now, it was against Cleveland, Boston, and Baltimore. And even Baltimore's offense isn't kicking right now. So it's not like he shut down any powerhouses. But I will say, he's allowed 6 total runs in his last 3 games, 6 total hits, 0 earned runs. He's had 16 strikeouts. Like, the dude is pitching really well right now. But what I will say is, Keider Montero, don't look now, but he's also kind of done a similar thing in his last 2 starts. He had a complete game against Colorado? Okay, fine, it's against Colorado. And then he pitched 5 innings, 5 hits, 0 earned run baseball against Baltimore. So maybe he's looking okay as of right now as well. I would trust Littell more than I do Montero, but I don't mind something like a first 5 under here in this spot, but I do think I'm going to lean towards the underdog Tampa Bay. Now, Detroit definitely is still wanting to win games. They're in the wild card spot right now. In fact, things are just going perfectly for them. The Twins lose, the Mariners lose, hell, the Royals, don't look good. Like, this is all working out for the Tigers to keep that spot, but they'll still try and win, right? I just think they have a severe pitching disadvantage today, so if you want to buy into the pitching, the Rays are your best bet, right? If you want to buy into the team that really is going to care about this game and try and win it like yesterday, then I do see an angle towards the Tigers, but I'm personally going to be on the Rays today if we do touch this game. And then I don't mind that first 5 under either, because I think both pitchers could do well against 2 offenses that aren't like spectacular. All right, Pittsburgh is taking on Milwaukee. We have Luis Ortiz on the mound going up against Freddie Peralta. When Peralta's on the mound, one thing that I do immediately when looking into the research is seeing how well his opposition hits the fastball, because we know Freddie Peralta is going to give us fastball and pretty much fastball and slider, right? Those are his main pitches there. He throws a fastball 55% of the time. Well, it just so happens Pittsburgh actually 7th in the league last 30 days at hitting the fastball, so maybe there's something to note there. We have Luis Ortiz on the mound for them. He has been okay, and I don't think this Milwaukee team has been like tremendous other than their last 2 games. So the last 2 games kind of have me in a tough place in this game, because I almost was like trying to make an argument for Pittsburgh plus 130. I think this is more of like a plus 115 type of a spot, so we're getting value in terms of where I see it. But Milwaukee's offense has looked really, really good, so I do think that I'm gonna kind of stick with my gut reaction and lean towards Pittsburgh. But I just wanted to let you know that like you can definitely make the argument for Milwaukee. Look at how they've been batting. 17 runs in the last 2 games with one of their better pitchers, if not their best pitcher on the mound today, against a Pittsburgh team that definitely struggles, who have scored, I think it's like 8 runs in their last 4 games total. Like, they're averaging under 2 runs per game in their last like 5, something like that. So I get it. I'm going to lean Pittsburgh just because I think that that's priced wrong. And the total is down at 7.5. So it's like the books don't think Milwaukee's going to go out there and score 10 runs, or they wouldn't put this at 7.5. So yeah, I'm going to lean towards Pittsburgh, as well as, I guess, a slight lean towards the under, but we can sound the psycho alert alarm. It is a psycho play there to fade Peralta, fade Milwaukee when they're on the stretch here of scoring a bunch of runs. But I think that there's enough reason to like Pittsburgh here. Luis Ortiz's pitch mix really looks good against this Milwaukee team, and then Freddie Peralta's pitch mix doesn't look all that great against this Pittsburgh team, as crazy as it is to say. I sounded the psycho alert alarm. Don't go jumping in the comments, call me an idiot for this one. I told you I think that there's reason to get to Milwaukee, but for whatever reason, I think there could be a Pittsburgh spot here today. All right, Washington taking on Kansas City, and man, oh man, is Kansas City lucky here, right? They score 1 in extras to kind of maintain that spot. Luckily, the Twins lose, so they were lucky there. They're going by the skin of their teeth right now, sticking in that last wild card spot. Today, they have Michael Lorenzen on the mound going up against DJ Hers. Am I crazy for still wanting to continue to bet Kansas City? Like, I can't see this team just giving up, rolling over, and dying, and yet we're seeing them almost tried to do that. You know what I mean? Like they've lost before that win yesterday. They had lost 7 straight games. They're not scoring a lot of runs. Like this is tough. They played Pittsburgh, Detroit, San Francisco. Like they should be winning some of these games, and they're not. But I think I'm going to be on Kansas City again. I just can't see them blowing this. And now they have a little bit of a cushion, right? The Twins lose, so they're 2 games up of the next team in the wild card. So this is the last time, though. I'll tell you right now. If we do make this a final play and Kansas City doesn't come through for us, I think we're just DNBing, do not betting them for the rest of the year, because I can't trust them to win a big game, including these ones, right? Like these are big-ish games. Imagine them in the postseason. Like, what are we doing here? They can't win a game against the Washington Nationals to solidify a wild card spot. How are they going to be able to win a playoff game? So if they can't do that, I don't know what we're going to do with them. In terms of the total, though, I do think that yet again I'm going to fall for it. They can go out there and score some runs. DJ Hurts hasn't been all that spectacular. Coming off of a start against the Mets in which he allowed 7 runs on no home runs. So he got hit up. 7 runs in 3 1/3 innings pitched. So yeah, hopefully the Royals can do something similar to him there. The good thing about the Royals, not scoring many runs, they haven't hit their over in 6 straight games, that you're getting it at -130 on ESPN. Like a month ago, you get the Royals at 3.5 in terms of their team total. Like you're paying a lot of money. So yeah, I don't mind them to bounce back in this spot. But again, I'm admitting I'm the psycho in the room right now. Fine. We'll sound it. Maybe I'm the idiot in the room, right? Because we're looking at a team that just has not been performing as the season closes. But that's where I'm at. So Royals money line as well as their team total over is what I'd look at here, but it has me shaking in my boots. Yankees taking on Baltimore. Cortez on the mound going up against Eflin. This total's down at 7.5, and I do understand it. You have Cortez at home, he's really good at home, struggles somewhat on the road, right? Eflin, who's been pitching really well. Eflin's sort of specialty is against lefties here. I don't know if you're aware, but Judge, Stanton, some of these guys are not lefties on the Yankees. I do think that we could see some runs in today's game, so I immediately jumped towards the over in this spot. I will say Cortez is good against lefties, so Henderson, let's see, Mountcastle righty, Rushman will be, I guess, from the left side. So there is some iffy spots here for the Orioles, but they scored 5 runs yesterday. Maybe they're kind of coming out of their shell of not scoring too many runs, starting with that Detroit game, right? Like they were kind of low, and then they scored 7 against Detroit, 4, then 3, but then they bounced back and scored 5 in New York yesterday, and the Yankees only scored 3, in which they had been scoring 10, 7 before that. So hell, we'll go with an over here. I like the spot. I think both pitchers could be good, but we could see runs for like the entire game, meaning it's going to be tough to keep it below that 7.5 mark. In terms of money line play, I think the Yankees bounce back, but I don't know this point in the season if I'm willing to pay -155 juice for them. So I'll go Yankees on the money line, but honestly, my main play may be taking a peek at that over. If anything, for a half unit. Most of these plays are going to be half unit, like I've already mentioned, until the season concludes, because let me get on my spiel again, because it gets a little weird at the end of any major league sports season, just like the MLB does. MLB may be the weirdest because you have pitching, you have fielding. It's not just basketball up and down the court or anything like that, right? Like the playoff implications mixed with how the game works is something to keep an eye on. So there we go. I mentioned it again. We'll probably mention it again, though. I was going to say I won't do it again, but we probably will. All right, Toronto taking on the Red Sox. We have Kevin Gausman on the mound for Toronto, going up against Dick Fitz for the Sox here. In terms of how he's pitched, he's looked really good. 3 starts in his young MLB career here. On the season, the team is 0-3 when he starts, but he has not let up a run yet. He's pitched 5+ innings each time, 0 earned runs, like I mentioned. I think there was 2 runs in one of those games, but averaging just under 3 strikeouts per game, so he's not a big whiff guy. But what I will say is you're kind of catching Gausman in a good spot. Bad for the Red Sox, good for him. Like Kevin Gausman's pitching deep into games now, 1.6 ERA over his last 5. Last time he pitched against the Red Sox wasn't all that great. In fact, the last 2 times he pitched against him this season weren't all that great. He is at home here. He's been a little bit better on the road than at home this year, but to me, I think that this may be a spot in which I trust Gausman. Toronto definitely has the better bats, and yes, I do like the fact that Dick Fitz has been pitching well and all things considered, but to me, you couldn't spell a guy that's due for more regression. So I'm excited for him as a pitcher and as a Red Sox fan, but today seems like a day where he doesn't go 4 games with 0 earned runs. Do you know what I mean? And then Gausman, on the other hand, has this team kind of spiraling. They've lost 5 straight games. I think that he's the one to pull them back. In fact, their last win, and it was their only win in their last 7 games, maybe even 8 games, right? Kevin Gausman started for him. So I think this is a good spot for Gausman. I like his strikeouts. I think I have that in the sleeper slip at the end as well. But yeah, I like I was gonna say the Yankees. I like the Blue Jays here on the money line. Total wise, I'm gonna lean towards the under, but maybe a Red Sox team total under. But I could just set this and forget it with Toronto money line. Both bullpens kind of stink as well, so I don't mind that. Both bullpens are definitely all really taxed, so it's like, sure, give me Toronto for the full game because they are the better offense. So even if we get to the bullpens and whatnot, I would trust Toronto's offense to score some late runs. I like them, but like I said, I don't really like a bunch of runs scored. I'd more so lean towards the under, but Toronto money line definitely my favorite spot here today. That says -142. I think you can get them at like -130 on FanDuel, so definitely some value over there. Most other books towards the -140s. But yeah, give me Kevin Gausman and the Toronto Blue Jays to get a win here that have come few and far between lately. Braves, Mets. I did mention Houston and Seattle being my favorite series. This may be the favorite series that we have now because this has some massive playoff implications. Now the Braves are a half game out of the wild card spot. Diamondbacks and Mets kind of on alert there because they're in the 2 and 3 seed there. And who are the Braves playing? The Mets. They can pick up a game here with a win like they did yesterday. 5-1 win. Swellenbach looked good. Now we have Chris Sale. Have you heard of him? Chris Sale on the mound for the Braves. They are super juiced, so I don't think that I end up, jumping to them and rolling with it there. But I think that the Braves could win this game and probably will with Chris Sale on the mound. In terms of how he's pitched against them in the past, it's been pretty damn good as well. 238 expected batting average against, a slugging of just 370, expected WOBA of 298, all in 142 plate appearance against. Now, David Peterson, it's kind of weird. He's pitching for the Mets today. He's had a really good year. 109 in terms of plate appearances against this current team. Strikeout rate at 30%, that's great. But a walk rate at 11%, that's not so great. And what's interesting is his average against is 188, and you're like, whoa, that's tremendous, right? Why is his expected batting average against? So his expected batting average versus his, batting average actual is 260. That's a huge jump. His expected WOBA jumps as well to 382, slugging 552. I don't know if this is the best spot for David Peterson, so I'm trusting that the Braves have some momentum here. Obviously, you can make an argument for either team. In fact, if this didn't have any playoff implications, I'm struggling with that word again. I would say +160 for the Mets, probably worth a swing of the bat, no pun intended, right? But with these playoff, implications here, I do think that I'm going to end up leaning towards the Braves. But I wish that we were getting them, obviously, with a little bit more of a, a better price tag. We don't have that right now. Depending on what David Peterson's walk rate is or walk line, I would consider that as well. Like I said, he walks a lot of guys in his history against this Braves team, and he's on the road here. He's 8.4% of his batters he walks on the road, so that's not all that tremendous either. He also struggles against righties. Zuna, Soler, few Ozzy Albies will probably, he'll be a righty today. So a lot of guys that are righties in this Braves lineup. So he might not have the best of times here against the Braves. So give me the Braves, but they're kind of priced out. I don't mind taking a peek at, David Peterson's walks either. And that's 7.5. I think the Braves could score some runs, but I don't know. I think one of these teams kind of goes off when one doesn't. So that total's kind of up in the air to me. All right, we got the Super Bowl of the slate. We got the Chicago White Sox taking on the Los Angeles Angels here. Davis Martin on the mound going up against Suarez for the Angels. White Sox win yesterday. What's kind of crazy is that we actually have 2 player props in our sleeper slip that we'll show at the end of the video for this game. I think it's like 2 guys to get a hit. So yeah, kind of weird there, but nonetheless, this spot is nothing that I'm looking to celebrate or get excited about. We've had to watch now this series 2 out of the last 3 series that they've played. You know what I mean? So that's unfortunate. In terms of what we'd lean towards here, I guess I'd lean towards the White Sox. You're getting plus money. Right, I know it says -102, but they're +102 now. Total sitting at 8.5. Sure, I'll lean towards the over. Yesterday we saw a 3-2 game. Today we could see who knows what. I mean, when they played earlier, it was 8-4, then 5-0, and then 4-3. Right, so we've been all over. We've had a high-scoring game, a low-scoring game, a middle-scoring game. Yesterday, kind of on the lower side as well, but I'll lean towards the over. But I think you are a absolute psycho if you're truly betting this game. Now, like I mentioned, I'll drop that psycho alert alarm somewhat on myself because I do have 2 player props in this game. I think it's 2 in that sleeper slip that we'll get to at the end of the video. So that's a little weird in and of itself. Minnesota taking on Miami. I feel like Minnesota is, just maybe not interested in playing postseason baseball. They're now 2 games out of the wild card. They've dropped 5 of their last 6 games, 7 of their last 10. And yeah, like I mentioned, 2 games out right now, which is crazy because literally, I want to say on Saturday or Sunday? Yeah, Sunday, whichever day it was, one of the weekend days, that's only like 3 days ago, they were a game and a half into the wild card. So fall from graces, for a lack of a better term there. Today they have Simeon Woods Richardson on the mound going up against Edward Cabrera. Same thing I'll say about yesterday. Like, they should win this game. I think they have a pitching advantage. I think they have the better offense, yada, yada, yada. I'll lean towards the Twins, but man, oh man, based on what we're seeing, it's going to be hard for me to want to even consider pulling the trigger on them. If I were to, I'd say, let's send it and let's look at their first 5 run line, get in and get out and try and win, after 5 innings, because hopefully they would start hot, given the circumstances, and that's minus 120 on DraftKings. But to me, it's a really tough spot to trust them and want to roll with them. So I am going to lean Twins in terms of their team total over and their first 5 run line. But hell, look what we did yesterday. Those are the same leans. We didn't end up making it a final play because the odds were even worse, and they got beat. So, I don't know what Miami's doing here. I don't know what the Twins are doing here. Miami's beating them. Tough spot. But I'll lean towards Minnesota on the money line as well as their team total over. But based on their recent play, going to be real tough to want to consider that. All right, Colorado taking on St. Louis. Yesterday's game was a 7-3 win for St. Louis. Now we have Austin Gomber, who deserves that Cy Young award, going up against Eric Fetty, who I do have a lot of, in certain times, confidence with. I feel like we've been good at judging when Fetty's going to be good or not for the weirdest of reasons. But Austin Gomber obviously stinks out loud. In terms of how St. Louis is batting lefties, it's not all that terrible. Middle of the pack and average. Not striking out a lot. They're walking a lot, but their ISO and slugging are decent. Top 12 in both of those. Actually, 8th in the last 30 days when it comes to ISO. The thing is, though, the pitch mix for Gomber is actually decent. He throws a bunch of fastballs. St. Louis not all that great at hitting fastballs. And then Eric Fetty throws a bunch of cutters, sliders, and sinkers. All pitches that I guess Colorado's kind of middle of the pack. I'm going to lean towards Colorado in this one. I think that they have the worst pitcher, but to me, St. Louis isn't necessarily, chomping at the bit to win games or anything here, right? They're 6.5 games out of a playoff position. They won yesterday. I could see this being kind of a toss-up, and we have the plus money side on Colorado, so yeah, it's kind of crazy, but if we have a high-scoring game, I don't expect, if we have a high-scoring game, 1, that means that Colorado's bats are working, right? And I don't think that St. Louis's bats are, 1, that much better, or 2, Fetty's, in position to kind of shut them down, so yeah, might be crazy, but I'm going to lean towards Colorado. In terms of a total, I'll lean towards the over. We're in Colorado. Game doesn't really matter. Go score some runs and have some fun, boys. All right, Oakland taking on Texas. Boy, oh boy, I wouldn't think that, yesterday, September 24th, a game breakdown that we do and a final play we do would result in, the most hate on a pick that we've got all year long in all of these games, all of these months. But yesterday, got a lot of it. A bunch of people being like, oh, good call there. There's one guy was like, hey, nice job, genius. It's I have to chuckle at that. We're talking about sports betting, and how many times do I mention the end of the year is wonky, right? So it's yeah, no kidding, we're going to get some picks wrong. It was crazy. I'm shocked. Obviously, we can deal with the hate. We call them guppies and whatnot, but this random Texas and Oakland game had so many comments yesterday about it being a wrong pick, which we show up the next day and say it's a wrong pick. You don't need to inform me, ESPN, in the comments, all right, buddy? But nonetheless, I'm going to roll with the same thing that I rolled with yesterday, first 5 under. I'm going right back to it. Brady Basso on the mound going up against Cody Bradford. Starting to trust Cody Bradford, and Brady Basso has been really good at home this season, so, there's a kind of feather in the cap there for that side of it. But I don't think either one of these offenses is all that tremendous. Yesterday, yes, we saw a lot of runs, but I'm not going to go out there and just get afraid of this play because we saw runs yesterday, right? And we've seen Basso, what does he have? 2 home starts? He might have only had actually 1 home start now that I think about it. So he has been good at home this year, but only with 1 home start. In terms of Cody Bradford's coming off of a shutout game, 7 innings pitched against Toronto, 6 strikeouts, no walks, just 5 hits allowed, 12 pitches per inning. So both pitchers should be able to do their job. If I had to pick a money line play, I think that the value is probably on Texas at minus 115, but I like that first 5 under a lot more. And I'll say it again, guys. It's one of my favorite plays on the board today. Definitely a strong chance of being a final play. Bring on the hate. If we get it wrong, we get it wrong. You're not affecting my day. You know what I mean? We know we're going to get some picks wrong. We only hit at a 56 to 58% clip. That means we have a lot, 44 to, 2% rate of getting some things wrong. So welcome to sports betting if you're mad that we get one pick wrong. Speaking of wrong, we have always been taking the Arizona team total 3.5. We didn't yesterday because, again, it was against Logan Webb. Wasn't the best spot, but they lose 11-0. And this is also a spot in which they are only a half game up of the Braves right now. So this isn't the easiest of, cakewalk type of end to the season for the Diamondbacks. Good news is they have Zach Gallen on the mound. They're going up against Mason Black. I like the idea of, them winning this game. Obviously, they're super juiced, -225, but I like the idea of them returning to form with some runs here. Now, they're over 3.5 is juiced, over 4.5 is -130, but I could see them going out there and scoring some runs today. So this might be a spot in which we can run with like a same game parlay, maybe take them on the money line as well as a team total over, or what I think may just be the simple move here. And if they score a bunch of runs, great, that's going to help us. But taking their first five run line. You can get that at -140 on DraftKings. Kind of juicy, but I think that they can go out there and get this win. They need wins right now, and they're going to have to get to Mason Black early and often. So I'd roll with that. In terms of a team total, like I said, I still like them to score runs, but once we get at that 3.5 range, I don't love it as much, obviously. As a guy that was like super confident in this offense all year long, all of a sudden I'm like, 4.5, it's a little scary. It's like they've been scoring 1 million runs per game. I think on the season, let's see. Yeah, they're averaging 5.5 runs per game, and I'm scared of 4.5, but we've been cashing 3.5, so hopefully that makes a little sense. But first 5 run line for them is probably the move. Secondarily, I'd take their team total over for the total. I don't think San Francisco beats them 11-0 again with Mason Black on the bump. All right, Dodgers, San Diego. Michael King pulls it out yesterday. Pitch is better than Logan Knack, and the Dodgers do cash that +110 underdog play there. I wish that we ended up rolling with it. We didn't. But in terms of the spot today, we have 2 really good pitchers on the mound. Jack Flaherty going up against Dylan Cease. It's a tough spot. I could see this going both ways, which is not something you guys want to hear watching this video, but I will say that the Dodgers offense is a little bit better. Dylan Cease's pitch mix, he's going to throw a ton of sliders. The Dodgers against the slider, not all that bad, top 11 in the year, on the season, excuse me. I would take the over here as well. I think that we have 2 good pitchers, 2 really good pitchers. Everybody and their grandma is going to be like, well, 2 good pitchers, let's take the under. I think that at 7.5, it's a little bit too low. And just based on what we've seen out of these pitchers recently, right? Dylan Cease looked really good. I think he's due for regression. And then Jack Flaherty's kind of in the middle of not pitching all that well. So maybe there's a good case to be made here. Like, he got a win against Miami in which he allowed 3 earned runs through 6 innings, right? That's the game that the Dodgers scored 20 runs. So it's not like he pitched all that well, but he got a lot of run support. So give me the Dodgers on the money line in a bounce back spot here. I don't think either team is like really caring about this matchup other than the fact that it's a rivalry, which could obviously impact it. But I think that they can go out there and try and score a bunch of runs. And we have 7.5 right now for 2 very, very good offenses. I'll lean towards the over. I think that has a chance of being a final play as well. Unless we get a masterclass performance from one of these pitchers, I think that 7.5 with these offenses could be a damn good spot. But guys, it's going to wrap it up for today's show. Like I promised, we do have an sleeper picks slip here. We have Cavadas over 0.5 hits. Again, that's one play in the LA and Chicago game. Fletcher, the other one, 0.5 hits. Fernando Tatis Jr., we're fading him under 1.5 bases. Doing the same thing with Shohei Ohtani. Just fading 2 great guys. I understand that can be kind of a tough spot. But overall, I'll give the credit to the pitchers in that case, right? And bases, not hits, runs, and RBIs, bases in this spot. And then Kevin Gausman, 5+ strikeouts, so over 4.5. That is nearly a 10xer slip over on Sleeper. Again, guys, if you have not checked out Sleeper, make sure to go ahead and do so. You're getting tons of free squares. You can take any of the plays that I'm rolling with or anything I mentioned in today's video and throw them in with some of these free squares. Go sign up. That link is in the pinned comment. You're going to get 100% of your first deposit matched as well. So go check it out. Catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.